Hello, it's been another interesting time in the theatre world with various developments occurring. The big one that's happened in the last 7 days has been Lyn Gardner of The Guardian having her Guardian writing contract cut dramatically. A lot of her usual theatre writing that she produces on the Guardian theatre blog will no longer exist. She will still be writing for the Guardian in a reviewing capacity mostly, but the theatre blog, so talking more about the behind the scenes activity and about the sector in general, we are going to lose a lot of that writing. Quite understandably, a lot of the theatre sector are kind of in uproar about this, and there's been a lot of fallout in the last few days about what that means for the sector and for theatre criticism. So, for those of you who don't know, Lyn Gardner is a critic and reviewer for The Guardian. She's one of the senior critics alongside Michael Billington and Albert Hickling, who is a regional reviewer. But Lyn is the main voice on the Guardian theatre blog in terms of writing more than reviews. So in terms of theatre criticism, in terms of behind the scenes and talking about big issues, kind of a little bit like what kind of I'm trying to do with these blogs. Lyn talks a lot about those kind of issues that that affect the work that's being made and the kind of context in which we're working. The loss of her as a critical voice, to the extent that she is now, is quite distressing for a number of reasons. Number one, Lyn is looked up to hugely by a number of people. As a critic and a journalist for artists, she's a really powerful voice in terms of not only letting people know about your work being out there, but also in terms of championing grassroots and smaller scale, sometimes fringe work that doesn't often get a look in at a national level. The national level is another really big thing. National press-wise, there is scant coverage of work that is not big commercial, and Lyn is one of the few voices in kind of mainstream journalism who really does go and cover that kind of work. The Guardian, to their credit, have committed to giving Lyn her blog and her opportunities to go and engage with that work and champion it for a long time, but it seems that economically the decision has been made now that that is no longer a worthwhile investment for the Guardian. Now, I want to start by saying that it's a lot of kind of comments have been very distressed at the Guardian making that decision, making the decision that effectively the implication being Lyn's work is not a worthwhile investment. I think that's a slightly dangerous attitude and mentality to have. On the basis that, having mentioned before, The Guardian are one of the few national publications, possibly the only one arguably, who do make that commitment to engage with that work and engage more nationally. Lyn does travel a lot to go and see work which otherwise wouldn't get seen because of the London bias on press and reviewing and the commercial bias. The Guardian have put a lot of time and effort and capacity and investment into supporting that work over the years, long after a lot of national press had cut that completely. So I don't want to go down the route of demonising The Guardian for this decision completely, because that would feel like it's not appreciating what they've done in the preceding years. So Lyn is, as mentioned, is a very influential voice, and the kind of outpouring of kind of almost grief really at the thought of her not writing has come from all levels and all scales, from kind of fringe level, smaller scale artists, from other members of the kind of the theatre press and critics and bloggers, big national organisations, National Theatre being one, for example, who've come out and said that they'll be disappointed that she won't be writing anymore. To that extent, it's huge, her impact. What she does for the sector as a champion of new work is massive. 1927, for example, and Joe Crowley, their producer, have always been a company who have very vocally been grateful for the support that someone like Lyn has given them in terms of giving them a national exposure, and their careers has kind of progressed hugely over the years to to be a large-scale company producing large-scale work that is getting seen by a lot of eyes, and Lyn Gardner is one of the people who saw their work early and championed them. That is so valuable to companies, not just in an economic sense, but also in terms of engagement with their work and beginning a dialogue and a relationship with audiences, programmers and critics. Lyn Gardner giving you a 5-star review in Edinburgh is massive for small scale companies. Those kind of things are kind of immeasurable in terms of the value they offer. And Lyn is also a reviewer who doesn't give you kind of a brief overview of things. She doesn't skirt around things and give you very wishy-washy reviews and comments. She does engage with the work. She does put thought into what she writes, and she talks about it at a much deeper level than some other national and high-profile critics do. She knows her audience, and she writes very well for that audience, and also gives an insight to those who maybe don't engage that much into what it's actually all about. It's a massive window to the industry that Lyn offers. In terms of the financial and kind of economic benefits of Lyn and her writing, there is a Twitter account called Hawks in the Wings, which I think personally is a really fascinating kind of account. Hawks in the Wings writes a blog that talks about kind of economics of theatre, and has done a lot of kind of interesting writing about NPO organisations and their financial backgrounds, particularly when stories come up about them facing various financial difficulties or funding awards and so on and so forth. So in a Twitter conversation, I had kind of asked him, because he said he had some personal experience with a show that had benefited from Lyn's kind of commenting on it in an Edinburgh Guardian blog. I asked if there was any kind of way we could begin to unpick the financial benefits of Lyn Gardner's writing, and he did something. He said it was very quick and slightly off the cuff, but immediately there's a huge benefit that becomes quite obvious from seeing that. You are talking kind of 7 figures worth of benefit to artists from Lyn Gardner per year, realistically, because of the amount of influence that she can have. And that seems, the full facts and figures will hopefully come with time, maybe, and it's something that I'm interested in digging away at a little bit more. But the Lyn Gardner can be a difference between a 50% house and 100% house for small scale companies. That cannot be underestimated, and the thought of losing that voice and that influence for companies and for artists, as well as for audiences to learn about new work, is really kind of quite distressing, really. But what happens then? How do we deal with this? Do we need to look at new models to support that work? I've had many conversations in the past with people in terms of criticism about, is there a kind of a desire, maybe a responsibility for the Arts Council to support theatre criticism? There are models such as Theatre Dialogue by Matt Acosta and Jake Orr, which does kind of to look at theatre criticism in a slightly different way, and uses a dialogue club, and there was Arts Council. I know they've worked on Arts Council bids to support that work previously. There are programmes such as the Young Critics programme that Carl Woodward was running in Winchester for some time. It was very successful. We've had embedded criticism. Andrew Hayden spent some time in with The Lyric, for example, in Sean Holmes' season a few years ago with their kind of rep company. There are different models that have been explored in terms of theatre criticism, but in terms of how to finance, is the Arts Council an option? Possibly. Maybe the Arts Council could support theatre criticism, or maybe make it more clear that they support that. If some things have been supported in the past, maybe we need to understand better that it is a possibility. If the Arts Council don't support it in that way, maybe as well we could do with clarification about that. But what other models are there? The likes of Exeunt and What's on Stage and The Stage put out writing by critics around this kind of work. The Stage's commitment to regional kind of writing about regional work is admirable and is really appreciated, particularly as somebody based in the regions. Exeunt are much more than the others by creating and putting out their long form criticism, which is really fascinating and in depth for those of us who work in the sector. But how do you finance those things? These are organisations who rely on sponsorship and also rely on advertising to make this kind of work out there. You've got an army of kind of brilliant bloggers out there as well who write for the love of it and write for free. And there is a danger that by someone like Lyn no longer writing to the extent that she does, there's a kind of additional pressure on those who write for free to continue to do that work for the sector. And then we have this issue that is so prevalent in the arts of artists working for little or no pay, and that conversation should include talking about theatre criticism as well. That is very important. That is vital to our sector in terms of its development, and we need to make sure that we support those people. So what are the possible options? One of the options that could possibly work is Patreon. Patreon is a kind of crowdfunding model for creative projects, which basically means people make a donation on a monthly basis, and there are targets, and those targets support the delivery of projects, and there are rewards based. It's very similar to the kind of Kickstarter model in some ways, but it's a regular thing rather than a one-off project. I know from a theatre perspective, I know that Bryony Kimmings has used Patreon, so has Meg Vaughan. Also, it's been used by Hannah Nicklin, which has been about some of her kind of pervasive game stuff and her gaming kind of work. These are all theatre artists. I know they've used it. I don't know if they find it to be good or be successful. I mean, I myself have just kind of really started looking at Patreon and have started kind of supporting a couple of projects. There's a guy called Danny O'Dwyer who runs a YouTube channel called No Clip, which is all about kind of documentaries about video games. If you're interested in those kind of things, I recommend checking it out because the videos are really good quality. But it's supported by crowdfunding through Patreon, and I've started giving to it because I like the quality of the work and would like to support it. So, you know, that works in that model. I don't know how much it's been explored for theatre and for theatre criticism. I don't know if it's necessarily the most suitable thing, but it is a possible option. It'd be really fascinating to know if anyone out there has used Patreon for that kind of purpose, and maybe if the Bryony Kimmings or Meg Vaughans out there who've used it are watching this and have any kind of comments about it. It'd be really interesting to know what you guys have experience with it. But yeah, it's something that could possibly be an option. The Arts Council again is another option. I don't know if there are other models we haven't really explored. I don't know if sponsorship, if advertising need to be pushed higher up the agenda, and actually we need to support, maybe it's about supporting those voices to themselves think in that way. So the independent bloggers maybe to be supported to think about how to finance themselves, and maybe that could be an Arts Council funded project that is about developing their skills, or something else, arts and business or something. That could be interesting. But perhaps we just need to not put a reliance on mainstream press and national press to support that work. Now, I say to Lyn, if you're watching, you know, as I'm sure you know, I've tweeted about it quite graphically already, but I think it's a terrible decision by The Guardian to cut the theatre blog, and obviously, you know, I kind of support you as much as a lot of other people do, and your writing is excellent. But you know, I also say that to a lot of other writers out there who write that kind of work. You know, your voices are vital to the sector, and you know, I think all of us together need to think about how we support that writing and make sure it can continue to happen. So if you guys have any thoughts about it, about how we can do something to support this kind of writing or to help kind of save Lyn's blog, then it'd be great to know. If you know anything that's happening behind the scenes at The Guardian that has kind of pushed this decision, or you know, those kind of things, it's really interesting to know. Obviously you can comment down at the bottom of the video if you want to comment there, or if you have any thoughts, if you agree or disagree with me. I know I'm sitting on the fence, so probably difficult to agree or disagree with me, but if you have any thoughts, then yeah, do put them in the comments, or you can obviously tweet me. It's at Dan_Baker83. Also, do like the video if you like it, share it with other people if you think it might be interesting, and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. That would be really great, and I will keep producing these videos for you, which hopefully continue to be of interest. So yeah, so will be interesting to see what happens from here on in with regards to the Guardian Theatre blog and Lyn's position there. Obviously, hopefully Lyn continues to write, and hopefully we continue to see that quality writing. But for now, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.